Hello and welcome to this, my second PA postcast video. I'm Cynic-Al. This is again a game from a little while ago. It was Furball from Val and I playing against two groups from the French clan Northern Walk. Large multi-planet system. So I guess I'll just jump straight in. Okay, so I spawned on my own, along with Dark Blue. Furball got lucky and had a planet to himself, and the Light Blue Northern Walk team also spawned by themselves. Fairly standard opening, going max factory energy. Fluffed my build order up a bit. I've done the same but far slower, and Furball is in a similar situation, hence our relatively poor eco opening compared to the other two teams. As you can see, it's quite a long game, so I'm going to skip through it quite a bit. The early eco builds weren't particularly interesting, but I was very quickly discovered by the two teams, and having managed to eventually overcome my worst eco start, still just got ganged up on by the two teams, and Furball didn't really have the units to support me, but had, or by this point, noticed that he was alone, so he could just go hard eco, and we decided to risk just losing the planet. The loss of a comm is painful, but not insurmountable. Light Blue had also realised by this point that they were alone, so starting to go T2 air to get up starting to go quite heavy eco, and starting to get up an orbital launcher to get to the gas giant. Other than the gas giant, there's also a small moon, but there's really no metal on there. And while there are 3 Halleys available, there are also several planets, so unless there's one particular team you want to kill, it's not all that useful. So yeah, as you see, I lost my commander very early on, and the entire base went down. Dark Blue have also realised how far ahead they are, and that no one else is on the planet with them, so they're also starting to go T2 and starting to get up orbital. I think at this point I'd stopped paying attention to what was going on this planet and started helping Furball out on ours, on his planet. Also getting up an orbital launcher. Light Blue have got theirs finished, got some scout units out, made a move for the moon early on, which personally I consider a surprising choice. The gas planet is far more important, I'd have said, but as you do. So my entire planet, my entire base gone. Light Blue starting to show a distinct eco lead. Still going for scouts and Avengers rather than the eco. And just spotting, there goes our first Fab, starting to get up some eco on the gas planet. What we're going to do now is bring up the pip and just keep an eye on our base. Not that much is happening for now, but second Fab are going off to help build up the eco faster. Dark Blue have got theirs factory up and are finally starting to build something out of it. T2 is going up very slowly because they're really not focusing on it. And they're taking a while to build up the eco here, focusing more on army production and getting T2 air probably to use that for the eco instead. Light blue, once again sending off some orbital units, but it looks like they're going to come and scout us rather than heading for the gas giant. Oh no, I tell a lie, they are in fact heading for the gas giant, but we managed to get some fighters out as a first thing. They spotted they'd got orbital up, so pushed some fighters out to try and keep it. Managed to protect the jig and only lost one fabber. Let's get another one out of the orbital factory to replace it. Dark blue have got their fabber up, and that's may actually be their second fabber, and that's going to the gas giant. Yeah, that was their second fabber. They've got one on the gas giant already, and our replacement fabber has arrived, but their fighter's killed before it really wakes up. There's with the 3-second delay on all orbital units arriving. Light blue sending some T2A units to scout. It's a good idea on big planets like this because everybody expands with T2 fabbers, T2 air fabbers. Uses the fighters as the commander. They've done a good job of expanding, got most of the planet covered. Got a few idle T2 fabbers, but they are getting some T2 mechs up, and at this point they have a considerable eco lead, so there's not much that you can fault them for there. Blue gets his first jig up, but we send some fighters. Very useful thing with the orbital factory is the ability to simply set a rally point and send whatever you want there. So I just rallied all of the fighters out of the orbital factory here, or orbital launcher, sorry, to where blue were gathering, just to try and pick them off. Also getting up some orbital factories here to build defences and build more fabbers to get the jigs building. And taking out blue's jig to try and maintain our economy lead. At this point, dark blue have gathered up quite a significant army. They're also moving into nukes and building their own orbital factory. Light blue have also got a fairly decent army. Got Icaruses covering the planet. It's recommended to do this because they're a good early warning system. They've got crappier vision radiuses compared to other air units, I believe, but they've got a quick little laser, and they also provide extra energy. And they do have a weapon that can shoot both ground and air, but the orbital fighters will shred through them. Dark blue starting to get up a bit more of an orbital presence. And a first sortie going off. Light blue are also trying to get up some eco on the gas giant. Where are dark blue headed? Dark blue are also sending stuff to the gas giant, I think. Yep, once again trying to pick away at our eco. But got a few more units up. That's not actually a single Avenger, that's quite a few stacked, I believe. As is the incoming army, that's quite a lot of them. they were sent here to try and clean up the Avengers I'd left. Also sending out some Avengers to pick off light blue, prevent him from getting up economy on their gas giant. It's fine, I'm going to skip forward again. And we see, perfectly timed, dark blue has just sent an orbital radar, so he should now have, they now have complete, almost complete vision, see a couple of weak spots, see both commanders, and now have a very good idea of what light blue's economy looks like. Light blue perhaps foolishly deciding that that's the perfect time to send all of their units away, trying to invade the gas giant. Fortunately for us, they attack the orbital factory first, and those have a ridiculous amount of health. If I turn on full vision again, that makes more sense. So they did try and get the jig later on, but by that point I've already got some Omega battleships and quite a lot of units around there. Dark Blue's wave of orbital units about to make its presence known. Here we see them coming in. They had good orbital vision, so they knew exactly where the enemy was and where to come out. It does take them quite a while to link the teleporter, enough time for light blue to get up a couple of defences. Also have to note that at this point I would be going through this faster, but the fast forward button has stopped working on replays. It's a bit of a bug. I can skip forward, but I can't actually just I can't put the whole thing at 1.5 or 2 times speed. Quite a lot of Infernos here and a Vanguard, so short work made of that army and the teleporter. If you have a look, light blue does have a slightly larger army, but it's a bit more spread out. This is Dark Blue also has some T2 forces and quite a lot of Infernos, and to be up against what appears to be, or was, somewhat a largely tank-based army, so the Infernos just tore through them. See, significant drop in army count, and placed perfectly to go straight through the T2 energy. Light Blue were floating quite significantly at that time, also found their first commander pretty much straight away. At this point though, Light Blue do have a base on the moon and have built up their orbital defences before even bothering to build up the metal. But the attack on their home planet has put quite a significant dent in there. It's waltzed straight through. Not that many metal points at this point, by this point in time, but if we consider that many of them were probably T2, and they've taken out a commander and a massive row of energy, they're still floating, but it's probably just a matter of time. Entirely sure what we were building at that point that we were Dark Blue have also, there we go, I think I just saw a nuke go off into orbit. Yep, I did, there we go. They're sending a lot of stuff to Light Blue, including nuking them. Not entirely sure where the nuke's gonna hit. Should see shortly. Okay. takes out an orbit. No, doesn't take out an orbital factory. Takes out a bit of eco, and not an awful lot. Personally, I think aiming for the army around here might have been the better bet, but there is an anti-nuke there, so it probably wouldn't have done an awful lot. And they do have a similar sized army. Well, you know, this is quite a lot of T2, so, but they do have another army coming up from the back, and at this point have done serious damage to Light Blue's eco production, and managed to get a commander kill. There is Light Blue are now down to having the lowest eco, about half of our teams, and finally stalling on power, so the teleporter's down, but the commander did go through. He's made it to the moon and is now reasonably safe from an orbital assault. No anti-nuke as yet though, which is perhaps unlucky. If Dark Blue had realised what he'd done, they probably could have killed him quite easily. Throughout this time though, we've been building up quite a large army. Some unit cannons, some T2, a load of tanks got stuck on factories, which is a bit annoying. Building up Omega battleships. Also built up quite a large orbital army, and everybody ignored us, so we could just build up jigs. I realise not the most efficient way to build them, simply having the fabbers do the massive long trip between the spacing. Probably should have done it in smaller groupings to get better spacing. But yeah, at this point, Light Blue have lost their planet, and I think they know it. There are still units coming through. Dark Blue are starting to get up a teleporter on their base. Starting to get up a factory on their base. They've got a decent army here, but they're losing the factories that we used to produce it. And their economy is completely in the dumps by this point. And there's nothing they can do to stop Dark Blue's army waltzing through the rest of it. So, okay, I think at this point I'm going to skip forward again, because not a lot happens. Obviously, last of Light Blue's base decimated. Us and Dark Blue fairly evenly matched, though we obviously have the far stronger orbital presence. So let's skip forward again. Incoming invasion. Skip back a second. Ah yeah, this was in fact This was in response to us sending them a Helios Titan. I think in fact the second Helios Titan, the first one landed somewhere above here and was shot down in seconds. The second one had a bit more success, but it still took far too long to link it. Managed to get a few units through. We didn't manage to get sight on the commander. And Helios was destroyed in seconds. Sent some Omega battleships after it that were intended to turn up at the same time, but they were wiped out fairly quickly. Which went Dark Blue counterattacked. They'd still got most of their army. But it was coming out the wrong way. We got lucky that we managed to get a teleporter up here before they did too much damage, and we had also quite a large army. Perhaps not the most sensible combination, and we managed to focus down the teleporter and had the units needed to build a second one of our own, so the army was wiped out fairly quickly before they could do any damage. Second Helios Titan sent in. Also ended up being a waste, having managed to been distracted by the attack. And we started becoming the target of Dark Blue's nukes. Still fighting a battle here to try and hold on to this area, but managed to get some umbrellas up. They started trying to get an orbital factory there, but we just, and they nuked away the army. But at this point we had quite a large orbital force over here, so just sent the Omega in to pair of Megas in to clean them up. They did get another teleporter down. Our invasion was still on hold while we were attacked. No orbital reinforcements sent yet. Had a small army here that we should have been quicker on the mark to send through. Fired the unit cannons off to try and just at least make sure we'd used them. Got some catapults up as they're good. The orbital units. Appears we've lost the Omega almost immediately, but sent the Helios Titan to go and make itself useful. This was Furball managing to focus build these with enough fabbers that the damage from the anchors was insufficient to kill them, and the Helios Titan making quite short work of the army underneath it. At this point we've dropped another Helios Titan and got the main part of our army through here, but as per usual it's taken quite a lot of damage. Dark Blue went very, very heavy on their anchor build. Keep an eye on here, but we sent in some orbital reinforcements and another Helios Titan and 2 more Omega battleships, and had quite a large standing army here. So just let the orbital units destroy the incoming land. Took down the teleporter as well. Took some damage, but relatively little eco-wise. Lost 2 T2 factories. Dark Blue's response to the invasion was to start using defensive nukes. It was reasonable placement in this one. We took out quite a lot of metal quite quickly. Obviously, at this point in the game, everybody still has ridiculous eco, as evidenced by the fact that Dark Blue can immediately push another nuke out. Not quite so lucky with the placement on this one. Still takes out a chunk of the army, but missed the main body of it. And a third nuke comes out. They are really focusing these down. Meanwhile, we're really focusing down Helios Titans. Our eco build out here has been largely ignored. The invasion here has been stopped, protected against, and there we go. a large force of Helios Titans have been built on this planet and more on the gas giant. So invasion force round 2. Once again, defensive nukes and a massive Avenger force being sent in to take care. Avengers in sufficient numbers do make very, very short work of the Helios Titan, as you can see here. I mean, these things are tanky and quite powerful, but a couple of 100 Avengers is probably still cheaper to build. Seven Helios Titans will, however, survive reasonably well, even against that many Avengers. So we've got the teleporter back up. They've fired their nuke off at the less important section of the army. But we've still not and take out quite a large chunk of their own power, but at this point they're floating so hard that they really don't care. Losing another Helios to these massive Avenger force, but at this point we're rushing out orbital Titans like there's no tomorrow and building up quite a large army and still floating, oh, not floating, we were floating by nearly as much eco as Dark Blue had. Their Avenger force is now gone at the cost of 3 orbital Titans and dropped in some Omega gunships. Once again, a chunk of the army had been nuked away again, but having had multiple orbital Titans we could spread them around a bit and just switch the teleporter to different ones as and when needed. Strategically, this wasn't the best player game we've ever played. I'm showing it more as an example of the sheer insane scale the PA achieves. If we look, admittedly, actual army counts are relatively low, but and significant numbers of these are in orbit. I haven't been keeping count, but Dark Blue must have launched about 10 or 12 nukes by this point, 30 minutes into the game. We're on our probably 10th orbital Titan that's been sent to the planet. And there's another 3 here. Another 3 on the gas giant. Again, nuking away more eco. Meeting army to army here. But there's always another Titan around. Light Blue have been left largely to their own devices. Dark Blue have sent most of their army back through the teleporter to defend their own planet, but Light Blue have almost nothing left here. Looks like they did try and rebuild, but they'd either disconnected or given up by this point. Got a load of Manhattans ready, I guess thinking of trying to do a orbital drop snipe, but they simply don't have the eco to build anything. Army's still getting nuked away as they come, but at this point we've done some damage to their eco. It's destroyed about half the planet. And there is still armies coming through. I think we started rebuilding Titans again at this point because we're no longer floating. There's another 4 there. Looks like the set from the gas giant have just been sent to go and continue the invasion. There we go, another 4 or 5 Titans arrived. 3 Titans, in fact. Some orbital invasion been sent, I'm going to assume, to the gas planet. Which is a good idea, that's where most of our economy is. They could make a serious dent in it if they wanted. Dark Blue's still rushing their nukes out, but there's no tomorrow. And this time, instead of building orbital titans, we've moved the units over to here. Stop and have a quick look at Dark Blue's orbital invasion. And they do manage to get a few jigs, I guess. I think we might have seen them. Or I don't know why, that's been certainly more than 3 seconds. Oh. So we've got 3 land-based Titans up. Stuck behind the rest of the army, but these Titans are also going to make their nuking away strategy a little less efficient, as each one of these takes about two and a bit nukes to take down. But in this situation, the hills have actually not worked in our favour. Don't work very well. Oh. We've got our own nukes in, take out a bit of eco, a couple of factories, nothing particularly useful. The Titan just getting pelted. They've got no AA, and unfortunately they've got quite low arcing shots, so they don't do particularly well on this terrain. Few too many CSGs in the way, and they certainly struggle with navigating. Getting up some air Titans as well. Realised that the Ares was just getting stuck and wasn't going to do anything. Orbital invasion still there. Looks like they were a bit too close to the jig when it blew up. They're actually taking out most of their own numbers without having to defend. Looks like Light Blue just scouted, or are scouting. And we've found the commander. So this use can do its job. Takes quite a lot of damage. The Ares is firing on the commander as well. That's 1 commander down. I think at this point we also spotted the nuke. But got completely wrecked by a couple of T2 fighters. They do a lot of damage if you're not looking for them. Looks like they're attempting to, in fact, reclaiming my Ares, which was probably one of the better attacks you could do. They've got no air defences, we weren't bothering to send T2 air through, but we do now have 3 Zeus Titans finished, and the Ares is down. At this point most of their defences have been land, so Seemed like a better idea. And while T2AA might work against one, he doesn't do that well against three of them. Starting to build up flak over here, so we just go round. And one nuke. And T1AA goes up fast, goes down faster. What we were exactly focusing down here. I think at this point I might have been distracted by the fact that light blue had sent us some stuff. Got a load of support commanders up. I think the plan, just pushing nukes, pushing infantries. Got another 3 over there if they need them. And we've found the second commander. And this game is over for dark blue. With sufficient eco, Titans really can crack the toughest of turtles. See, just got several Helios Titans. Massive orbital army. We didn't realise at this point quite how thoroughly light blue had been demolished. So we decided to invade the moon, partially because we saw their orbital Titan being attacked, being built. And partly because we thought if they'd still got their starting planet they might just hally us, but sent in our orbital army, which got absolutely massacred. All the Titans came in at once, and while they took a lot of damage, there were several of them to spread the damage over, and the land army took out most of the umbrellas before they could do too much. At this point, we didn't know it, but it really wasn't a fair competition. We were assuming he'd have a lot more in the way of defences if he was building this, so that's their orbital feathers going off. I thought. But the push begins. The hope was to actually clear the planet and perhaps hally their world ourselves. Except we hadn't had any scouting on 0, so as far as we knew, this was still reasonably inhabited. We'd seen that dark blue had managed to set up a foothold, but not that they'd completely destroyed it, so it's just a case of spreading out. T2 radar arrives and we get full vision of the planet, and there's the commander, and this game is over. Probably had enough nukes at this point that we could just have nuke sniped him, but if we'd needed to, we could just have overwhelmed any orbital defences. Okay. Dead con. Disappointment that the and there we go. Quadruple Manhattan explosion. The orbital feathers did arrive in time to start building Titans on the planet. So there we go. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. was, said, perhaps not the best game strategically, but I thought an interesting demo of quite how ridiculous things can get in games of PA Titans. So it must have been better part of 20 nukes, probably 30 odd Titans. That's what you want in a game. Okay. So, see you next time.